Hi everyone, my name is Lily and welcome to the video. As you can see, I have painted my nails. They are Christmas themed because Christmas is coming up in just a few weeks. Today I want to talk about one of the most important aspects of my life planner, which is the language learning. If you don't know what my life planner is, go ahead and check out my first video where I explain what that is and why I'm using it. In the life planner, as you guys know, that I have a whole bunch of languages I want to learn, and the question is, how do I learn them? I'm already in the process of learning 2 languages, and one of them I use a separate app because sadly Duolingo does not teach ASL, but I use Duolingo for basically everything else. And the question is, why do I use Duolingo and not a traditional book? And I think both have amazing qualities to them, and I'm going to show you why you could honest to God go for either when going for your chosen language. This video is great if you're an adult and don't have time to go back to school to take some classes that'll end up being boring and you won't ever use it. Duolingo and traditional books can be a great way to actually learn the conversational skills you'll need to actually start using it. I've been using Duolingo since around August now, and thanks to that I'm already able to speak a whole bunch of Spanish, and I've been using it at my job where I have to speak with little kids who don't always know English, and it's great. The first thing we should talk about is the learning type. Obviously, with your typical classroom, they will teach you the building blocks. They'll teach you how the alphabet works, they'll say how to spell everything, and Duolingo does not use that at all. They use what is called a communicative approach. So they will teach you the building blocks you need right away in order to get into very basic conversations. Stuff like ordering food at a table, greeting someone, telling someone your name, asking them questions, that sort of thing. And I personally really like this approach, as it allowed me to use my Spanish straight away. And the only way you're ever going to really get good at your language is if you use it often. And so thanks to the communicative approach that Duolingo uses, I'm able to use it almost every day now. Next up, we should talk about the structure that Duolingo has. Each lesson is structured into a whole bunch of mini lessons that help you fully understand the concept. It typically goes with some main lessons, a story, some more lessons, another story, a speaking aspect, an area to practice your weak skills, an area where you get to practice your listening skills called the radio, more speaking lessons, some final lessons, one more story, a game, and then a final lesson. And if you use Duolingo Max, you also have access to video calls and role play, where you get to practice your speaking and you get to practice talking in everyday life. I have used Duolingo Max. I currently don't use it. I just use the normal Duolingo Plus, which is still ad-free, and well, kind of ad-free. They will advertise Max to you, but it's not nearly as bad as with normal Duolingo, which is a big problem. The fact that normal Duolingo, the ads can become a lot and make you not want to do multiple lessons in a day, which is really bad because you want to do multiple lessons in a day. It should be fun. But if you're able to cash out the 90-ish bucks for Duolingo Plus or the $180 for Duolingo Max, you're going to have a lot more fun with it. From there, with every lesson, it's built into sections, and there's 8 sections that are meant to be aligned with the CEFR guidelines. They do not yet have sections for the highest levels, but they do have them for, I believe, A1 through B2, I want to say. Though I have to fact check that one. One of the hard parts it can be when getting into Duolingo, especially when you're in section 2, which I just finished, is it can be kind of a slow start. Because it'll go 5 lessons, which can take a really long time, especially if you're doing a couple a day. Then a nice story to break it up, and maybe a video call if you have Max. And then it goes right back into another 5 lessons. So right away, you have to do 12 lessons, and you're not even halfway done. After that, it goes by super fast. But just that beginning section can be really hard to go through, and I always recommend doing 3 lessons a day, which are at that point, because it just becomes so much easier to get through it if you're going through it fast enough. But once you're done with those main lessons, you'll be getting into the stories, which are really fun. Typically, each story will involve 1 or 2, maybe even 3 characters in a fun situation where usually there ends up being some sort of twist at the end. One of my particular favorite stories that I always find to be funny is a man's car breaks down and one of the Duolingo characters, Lynn, tries to help him. And he ends up just asking for his phone and ends up calling an auto dealership. And by the end, Lynn reveals that they themselves work as a car mechanic, and they're there to help them with their car. And the guy just didn't know because he just wasn't assuming that a female could be a car mechanic. At least I'm pretty sure that's the implication. And that's a really fun story. And it's nice to actually be able to use your skills and pinpoint, hey, I know those words, I know that grammar, I know what they're talking about. There's another one where Junior, which is part of a father-son duo in the Duolingo canon, wants to get a dog, and in response, the dad has him do a whole bunch of chores to show him how hard it can be to have a dog. And by the end, he agrees to give him a dog, but Junior is too tired to actually get a dog. And those stories are really fun breakaways from the main lessons, where it can get boring and you can get frustrated. And I know I've gotten frustrated multiple times from just not understanding a grammar concept, because early Spanish is very much so like English, but once you actually get into Spanish, you'll realize the grammar is quite different. It can be really annoying. From there, they also recently added a speaking part, where you'll learn how to, you'll basically be memorizing a question and memorizing an answer, which can kind of help you formulate the ideas in your head of how to properly respond and make questions. It's a little bit unrefined so far. It's mostly just repeating the same sentences over and over again and then kind of memorizing it until the end. But I think it's helpful to learn how to actually speak it properly, other than just copying down what you say, what it says you could say during normal lessons. It's a nice breakaway from the normal lessons. As well as, typically in every section, there's a weak skills part, where it'll show you a weak grammar concept they think you have, and you'll go through a whole bunch of exercises that will help test those weak skills. So for me, I have a hard time sometimes with like the different versions of a word. If it's referring to me, you, or someone else, I'll have trouble with those. So they'll often give me exercises to test those skills, as well as they also like to give me stuff to test because I have a hard time with the gender pronouns of certain words. Some of them don't always make sense to me. So it can be a lot of fun to actually go through and test those weak skills, as well as typically on the Duolingo app, those will actually be from an easier level than what you're currently on. So if you're getting really frustrated with those grammar concepts, doing a weak skills section can actually make you feel better again, because you feel like you're actually getting better, not stuck in this rut point. And then another one of the new features I've recently added is the radio, which is my personal favorite. There's 4 different radio sections I've come across so far. That being Lily's talking with strangers, Lynn is listening. I don't remember his name. But he is the nice Hispanic man who is friends with Junior's dad. It's Vikram. Vikram's Antique Roadshow, as well as, I don't remember the name of it, but he basically is trying to help out the community. And these are all fun ways to test your hearing, because hearing is one of the hardest parts about learning a language, is being able to hear someone else speak it and interpret it in your brain. It's especially hard with Spanish, because I don't know if you've ever heard a Spanish person speak. They speak fast. I have Hispanic family. My mom's side is entirely Hispanic, and when they speak, I basically can only listen out for those keywords, and everything else is just a blur. The reason why I find the radio feature is so important is because when someone is speaking to you, the hardest part is about translating what they're saying quickly in your own mind and being able to converse back with them. Especially with Spanish, I have Hispanic family members, and they speak so fast, and it can be hard for me to understand them. So by constantly using the radio feature, I'm able to actually process things in my head quicker, which is helping me, so I'm able to understand what my family members are saying a lot better, because often I'll only be able to hear the keywords and I won't know what the full conversation is without the full context. I'll only hear a couple of words here and there. The third new feature they've added is the game feature, which are these little games in it's like a 4x12, I want to say, cube space that they have. In each one, you do little tasks, like helping someone get ready for school, or helping out with babysitting, or getting pizza or cake. And these are all just meant to help test your conversational skills, because usually at the start, you'll have to talk to someone else, and you have to pick between 2 conversational options, and one of them will be the right one, the other one would be, what the heck are you even saying? And that makes no sense. And you have to go through this a couple times. Usually there's some sort of twist. And one of the most recent ones I've done, Zari, who is the Muslim character in the Duolingo canon, was talking with her friend Lily because there's a new student, and we couldn't find the student, and the student ended up being Lynn, and Lynn was in the closet, and it was really fun. And we had to help Lynn find a pencil because their pencil was broken or something. It was something along those lines. I think maybe they needed a pen. Either way, we helped out Lynn, we made a new friend, and it was a great way to test my skills of the most recent section I was in. So the speaking section, the radio, and the game are all free, so you don't have to worry about having to get something extra. Those are all a part of the base content, and those are definitely my favorite parts. The extras we have are then video call and role play, which we previously talked about. Right now, video call only allows you to video call with Lily, and typically you'll say hello, you give some pleasantries, and then she'll ask you a question, which is a little bit bare bones, but she is able to actually hear what you're saying, and she does in fact respond. It's definitely not the best, and I would not get Duolingo Max for that reason. If I were to get Duolingo Max, it would be because they have an area where you can get your answer. You can get either your correct answer explained to you or you can get your incorrect answer explained to you. And it's just meant to help you strengthen those grammar concepts. It kind of sucks that it's locked behind Duolingo Max, which is their most expensive subscription, but it is what it is. You can't really change that. I remember when I used to use Duolingo like, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, maybe even 8 years ago, and that part was free. But I understand they have to make money somehow. That's okay. The roleplay feature, though, I would recommend if you really want Max. That part is good. You can either go through and use the preset words they have at the top of this little screen, or you can type it all in yourself. And you can have this back and forth with someone, and it feels a lot more natural and not just like Lily just asking you a random question. And you just being like, what? I guess, yeah, I have a cell phone. Why do you ask? So, video call, no-go. Roleplay, absolutely. It's fantastic. From there are 2 fun little mini games you will come across, either in the leaderboard section or in the main hub section on the path tree. There'll usually be the same character 3 times and different fun little poses there. And if you click on them, you'll either end up with Rapid Review or Match Madness. These are both exactly the same thing, where you have to complete a certain amount of tasks in a certain amount of time. With Rapid Review, you're just doing a normal lesson, but as fast as you can, so they'll typically give you easier questions, and that one was hard. In order for this video to get the B-roll footage for that, I had to do a rapid review, which I typically don't do because I don't like them, and I had a second to spare by the end of it. And then for Match Madness, you're just matching words to, you're either matching Spanish words to English words or English words to Spanish words, and I personally like that one, because it really helps me test my comprehension of words, which I always need help with, so I recommend that. As well as in the extras menu, you can find an area to practice your mistakes, words, listening, and speaking. These are all essentially what you can normally find in the typical track, except for words actually has an area where you can listen to a word and match it to the English version instead, which I love. I believe the extras are only for Duolingo Plus though, sadly, which I do have though, so I get to use that, and I will use mistakes and words a lot. Not really listening and speaking, I don't really like those 2 features, but I love mistakes and words just to work on those concepts that I have trouble with. Because mistakes will take the things you have actually gotten wrong in the past and seem to struggle with a lot, and it'll make you redo it over and over again until you actually able to get it right and you understand what you're doing. Duolingo also has a leaderboard feature where you can try and climb the ranks through a whole bunch of things. I recently just reached the top rank, and I intend to stay there for as long as humanly possible. I don't want to go back down. And on my leaderboard, as you can see, there is not any ability to promote upwards, but typically it'll be between like top 10 to top 5. There'll be a section that says promotion area, and that's the area on how you move up, as well as at the very bottom is usually a demotion area, where if you stay there, you're gonna end up going down a level. And sometimes you get a really easy section where no one's really doing their lessons, so you're able to move up fast, and other times people get like 5,000 XP in like a single day, and you're like, what are you doing? Why are you spending your whole day on Duolingo? Go outside! I love the leaderboard to keep me motivated, but sometimes it can make me go through lessons simply just to move up the leaderboard and not because I genuinely want to learn. So I would use that leaderboard sparingly, because sometimes you will end up in that situation where you've already done some lessons and now you're just careening through an entire section that you should be really focusing on, but you're not because you just want to move up the leaderboard. And the easiest way to do that is by going through the sections. Next to the leaderboard, there's also a friends tab where you can make a whole bunch of friends, as well as you can either do clashes, you can do friend streaks, and you can also do friend missions. The friend clashes are for you guys to go head to head, see who can beat who. The friend streaks are so when you guys both do a lesson, you guys can keep up a streak together. And then the friend quests are where you guys both do like a certain amount of lessons, you get a certain amount of XP, and both of you guys will usually get like gems. I'm currently doing that with someone completely random. I don't know this person at all in real life, but we've just been doing this for about a month now. We just kind of go through it together, and that is a fun way to stay motivated. As well as on that tab, you'll also find your daily quests, and each of these daily quests will give you potions that will either double or triple your XP for a certain amount of time. As well as, if you're able to get a certain amount of these quests done in a month, typically somewhere between 30 and 45, you'll get a special little badge. And I love going for those, and the extra XP boost is really nice for the leaderboard to help you kind of slow down so you won't need to do nearly as many lessons to get all that XP. As well as Duolingo this year rolled out Duo in Review. I don't know if this was a feature before. This is my first time ever seeing it, but I love it. They're marketing off the fact that everyone thinks that Duolingo is going to kidnap all your children and eat you alive. And the entire premise is, are you safe from Duolingo? Have you done enough lessons to where you are safe? I'll tell you the answer, probably not. I myself am though, I'm safe. I'm in the top 3% of Duo users this year, and I've only been using it consistently now for less than half a year. So I don't even want to know what's happening to the rest of everybody else. They're probably all getting kidnapped. And I love the Duo in review. It's just like how Spotify will have its rap playlist, or Steam will have its achievements showcase, show how, like, what games you've been playing the most, where you got the most achievements. I think those are excellent ways to keep you motivated and let you see how much progress you've truly made. I know Reddit had one, whereas how many bananas did you get, I believe it was, by scrolling, and you could reach the moon. I remember a couple years ago, I reached the moon like half the time. I did not use Reddit a lot. But this year in review also aligns in perfectly with their marketing. If you know Duolingo, it is probably because of their marketing, like how last year for April Fools, they came out with a fake Disney on Ice-esque musical all about doing your lessons, and it was a big hit. As well as recently they've come out with something like that, which kind of goes off that little musical-esque, where it's a song about this boy's parents getting kidnapped and he has to do lessons in order to get them back. And it is a genuinely fun and well-made song. And their marketing is one of the best things out there. If I had to pick Duolingo for any reason other than its great track and its ability to get me to speaking faster, it's their marketing. I love their marketing. It aligns perfectly with my generation being Gen Z. It is beautiful. I love seeing their absolute off-the-wall comments they will make on other people's things in their videos. It is the best thing ever. Finally, should you get Duolingo? The answer, maybe you should. Let's go over the pros and cons. The pros being, Duolingo has an excellent structure. It covers all 4 language learning aspects, that being reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And even though one of these is blocked off by a paywall, it does cover the other 3 pretty well. It is fun. Duolingo is a trustworthy brand despite their marketing. They will not steer you wrong. They do generally want to see you learn, and they have so many languages for you to learn, including languages that are not nearly as loved, like the language of the Navajo people and Hawaiian. You have friend streaks, which can keep you motivated, as well as achievements, which I didn't mention earlier. There are, in fact, achievements for doing things like completing mistakes and fixing them, and finishing lessons and getting XP. And that can be another way to help you stay motivated. It allows you to speak with others fast. The cons being, it is pricey, which is probably the thing that's going to stop most people from going with it. It's either $90 or $170 yearly, and if you end up going with a family subscription, it's going to cost you even more than that. As well as it can feel like a game at times, which you never want when you're trying to genuinely learn a language. As well as microtransactions are everywhere. If you want to increase the time on those little mini games that I mentioned earlier, you have to buy them, and they're not cheap at all, just for an extra 30 seconds to a minute, and it's not worth anything. Finally, there are ads after every lesson. Even when you think you're avoiding it, typically they'll still find a way to get in an ad. Sometimes you'll end up seeing 2 ads, and they are long, and it can make you 100% not want to continue with the app. Personally, I recently received money as a Christmas gift, and I used part of that money to get myself the Duo Plus, which is why I'm able to afford it, but I'll only be using it for a year unless I somehow manage to find another set of $90. Otherwise, it is a frivolous expense for me. It's probably a frivolous expense for many of you guys. If you guys are like me in college, you can't be affording that, which is why you guys might want to use a book. This is the book I have. I don't use it that often, but I do love it a lot. It is the Complete Ultimate Spanish Guide, as well as it comes with a little app. It's great. And if you don't want this book, there are plenty of others on Amazon, as you can see. If you guys go into my link below, you guys will see some affiliate links. I am affiliated with Amazon for this marketing, and you don't have to use my link if you want to buy these books, but it would be greatly appreciated, as it puts a little bit more money in my pocket as I'm growing this channel, as well as it'll also help me pay for my gas money in order to get to college. So that would be great. But don't feel any pressure to learn however you want to learn, but these are some books. I vetted them out. They look really good. Personally, I love the one I have. It is great. It is comprehensive for 1st and 2nd years, which means you'll cover 2 years of Spanish in just one book. That's great. It's amazing. Oh my God, I love it. It uses a fusion of the communicative learning as well as the building blocks. So at the start of the book, you will end up learning how each of the letter sounds. You'll learn that basic pronunciation and spelling, but it only goes into it for just a little bit. So as you can see here, we have vowels. And if you see the little symbol next to vowels, that's because in the app, they have these sections where you can listen, and it will read things out to you and you will repeat it back, which can really help you formulate both that listening and that speaking. which is what we talked about earlier. And once you're done with the basic pronunciation and spelling, you'll then get into your actual first section, which goes into that communicative approach. The first one being getting around town, also known as Where Is It?, which has a whole bunch of communication goals and topic goals. Typically, you'll be analyzing some dialogue, and then you'll be learning the variants of that dialogue. So this one, you're learning, the base one you're learning is what's in the box, or que hay en la caja. I believe that's how you say that word. And it changed the in the box to be a whole bunch of different variants, like in the bag, in the folder, in the suitcase. So instead of being que hay en la caja, it's que hay en la bolsa, what's in the bag, or que hay en el paquete, what is in the package. And then you'll learn the response to that. Hay una cámara en la caja. There's a camera in the box. Or hay una computadora en la caja. There's a computer in the box, which can just help broaden those ideas instead of sticking with a very strict thing, like kind of what Duolingo does. You're able to learn all these different variants, which can help you learn these questions faster and be able to use them more in your daily life. And there's also grammar practice. You'll be learning grammar way sooner. And it's a little bit more clear than Duolingo. Duolingo doesn't typically expressly teach you grammar unless you ask it to. Sometimes it will. There was one entire section just dedicated to grammar that's in section 2, where it will help you. It'll teach you the difference between like nosotros and somos and all that fun stuff. But it's finicky at best. You don't really understand those grammar concepts with Duolingo. You can learn the words, great, but the grammar concepts you're gonna learning through trial and error more than anything, unless you pay for that super high Duolingo Max subscription. But in this book, it's a one-time payment. This book I actually got from Half Price Books. I believe on on Amazon, it's around 20 bucks, I want to say. It's comprehensive, and you will learn that grammar and you will practice it so much faster. And in each section, there are a whole bunch of learning exercises that are fun and are not just the basic translate this into English, translate this into Spanish. Of course, there will be stuff like that where you do need to translate it, like this one, where you're expressing each dialogue exchange in Spanish. But there's also one, for example, where you will do like a little word scramble and unscramble words in Spanish, or you'll be completing the sentence, as well as you'll also have sections where you'll learn the gender of nouns, because in Spanish the gender of nouns is very important. You can't just be going around telling somebody that the apple is a male. It's a female apple. All apples are female in the Spanish language, which is a very bare bones simplification of what that actually means. What I'm telling you is that la manzana is correct and el manzana is absolutely not. Or la médica is the doctor. I would never say el médica. I would go el médico, but even then I don't think that's actually improper Spanish. Some words do have variations to go along with, so where it will change from el to la depending on the actual gender of it, but typically a lot of words will stay the exact same. There are no male apples. It is only la manzana. And you will learn that here. Like, for example, I did not know this. La luz is light. Light is the female. We're using the female one for it, which I know is not typically something we do in English. We don't have really a way to express gender pronouns of objects because you usually just use the. It's just the. It's the ticket, the suitcase, the shoe, you know. We're not going around gendering our shoes over here. Sure, we have male and female shoes, but that's more of a stylistic choice, not something in our actual language that we've adopted. As well as you can also learn the difference between nouns and articles, where you will be correcting it. And all of these exercises really do help you understand. They're a lot more fun than Duolingo, I'll admit it. These book ones are way more fun than what's in Duolingo. But of course, the issue being it's a one-time book. You know, it can't come up with new exercises once you finish them. Which is the nice part about Duolingo. It can constantly come up with new things for you to do. But if you're not really too worried about that, then a book is a great option. And these will even teach you negative sentences and question formation, which Duolingo doesn't really teach you that. It doesn't really teach you how to say, I don't want to do this. You'll learn it through trial and error, sure, but they won't expressly teach you that as a lesson. But this book does. It will teach you how to go with the different versions of it. It will explain it to you properly, and you'll be able to understand it at the end. Some of the future chapters this book also has is describing places and things, nationalities, professions, food and films, describing people, emotions, and health, work and leisure, the weather, foreign languages, sports, entertaining at home, the daily routine, travel likes and dislikes, childhood, family, history, university, health and accidents, people, character, personality, societal problems, business and growth of cities, directions, air travel recipes, holidays, celebrations, and planning for the future. And that's just all for the first year section. That's just for Ultimate Spanish 101. Once you get to Ultimate Spanish 201, you're suddenly talking about all sorts of things. You're suddenly talking about the economy and politics on page 596. And at the very end, there's also an answer key for all those exercises I talked about, so you're actually able to confirm if those answers are right. And you won't lose any hearts, and you won't have to pay for extra hearts if you lose too many hearts in the Duolingo, which is the part that sucks, and I did not mention that earlier, and I definitely should have. So let's mention it now. Duolingo has a feature if you're not paying a subscription where you have 5 hearts and 5 hearts only. You can never go above 5 hearts. And every time you get something wrong, it will take away a heart. And if you do not have the gems or the money to shell out for gems or to buy more hearts, you're out for like 4 hours for even just a single heart. Here though, you don't have that problem. There's no hearts, it's just a book. You mess something up, that's great. You move on, you learn from it. That is one of the best parts about this, is that I don't have to pay a subscription for this book. It's a one-time fee. It's $20. It's way cheaper than paying $80 a year. And by the time you're done with this book, you probably already have other ways to solidify your Spanish. You're probably talking with friends and family at this point. You're probably writing in Spanish once you're done with this book. You won't need this book again, because you'll be good. Finally, one of the things I love most about this book is that it is mostly in Spanish. They will have some explanations in English, but for the most part, everything else will be in Spanish. All of the headers are in Spanish, most of the text is in Spanish, so that you have to fully immerse yourself in the book in order to learn. Well, Duolingo, half of it's in English, even at the higher levels. You're always gonna have English. But from the very beginning, the very first thing you do is you analyze dialogue in the very first chapter. It does not say dialogue, it says it in Spanish. It will say it in Spanish. And sure, it'll have a little way for you to know by the end what you're saying, but it's trying to immediately immerse you in Spanish, which is amazing. So if you're trying to learn Spanish, I highly recommend this book. Or the other books I have linked down below. Once again, all of them seem to have a really great track record, and I can recommend all of them. So, should you go the more traditional route? Maybe once again, the pros to using a traditional book is a single cheap cost, usually like $20 to like $30 at most. That's on the high end. You can usually find these at used bookstores all the time. The one I have specifically has free app support. You don't need to pay for it or anything. It's just there. It's free with the $20. Look at that. You're already getting another app. You already have help. And the app has things like flashcards and the listening practice, which is great to actually work on your skills. There's no pressure and you get to work at your own pace. There's no hearts. There's no worrying about losing a streak. You just work. And if you're looking for something not as low pressure, I would recommend going the book version. Because Duolingo, they will pressure you a lot into always keeping up that streak and topping the leaderboard. Here, you can just focus on the Spanish you truly want to learn. And it's versatile. With so many different exercises, you're never gonna get bored. Like, who wants to get bored when they're learning a language? This is gonna deter you. The cons, though, is that it is wordy and it is a book, and reading isn't always fun. And it can be hard to stay motivated without something like a leaderboard. And that can just be sad sometimes, you know? You're just like, ugh, it's just a book. And not a lot of people like reading. I love reading. Reading is great. Reading is the best thing ever. But I know a lot of people, including my own partner, who does not like reading. Hi, honey. And I actually teach him ASL. That's one of the ways I personally teach myself. I learn by teaching others. So I will use my Spanish and I will try and teach it to someone else, or I will learn my ASL through my other app, InterSign ASL, great app, by the way, check it out. And I will then teach that to my boyfriend. We'll go over different concepts. We'll use ASL day to day. And that, if you need anything, any advice on how to properly learn a language, is use it every day. Find a partner, find someone who already knows the language, and just talk with them, even if it's scary. Practice the language every day. As if you're like me and you want to learn like 7 different languages, you're going to need to practice it every single day, even if it's hard. And sadly, another con is that there really is no way to practice writing directly in the book. There are some exercises where you'll do like a little fill in the blank, and then you can check it and you'll see if it's correct. But other than that, there's no really way to write out sentences that I've seen. So you will have to go out and just write something on your own. But that isn't really too much of a big deal, honestly. And there are still exercises, and it still does technically cover all 4 aspects. especially with the app considerations, because you do have the way to listen. And you do have the way to speak, but you don't really have a way to check it. But that's not really too much of a big deal. So, which one should you go for? If you do not have access to the $90 or more for the Duolingo subscriptions, I would not go that route, honestly. It's a fun app, but the ads make it so hard to work with. So, if you are a broke college student like me, who does not like ads and does not have $90 on hand, I recommend going for the book, but you have to stay motivated. If you're a person who are not going to stay motivated easily, I would never go for the book, because that book will not make you do its lessons. Duolingo will make you do its lesson, otherwise it will kidnap your family. So, broke college student, go for the book. Not easily motivated and have the money, go for Duolingo. Or do whatever you want. There are a million ways to learn a language. These are just 2 ways. You can go in a typical classroom, you can immerse yourself in a culture. There are a bajillion ways to learn languages and so many languages to learn. So please get out there and do what I want to do and learn those languages. Because one of the best parts of living is getting to do so many things. And one of the ways to do those things is being able to communicate with all of the people. By learning Spanish, I can suddenly communicate with so many more people than I previously could. And now I get to talk to those people and learn about them and just completely enrich my own life. And that's why you should learn a language, to enrich your own life. If you guys liked the video, go ahead and like and subscribe and comment what you loved about the video. Next video will be happening after I'm done with finals. I'm currently in the middle of finals week and it is awful. It is the worst. I hate finals. I wish someone had warned me about this beforehand before I went to college. My next video will be going over my finals grades. Ooh la la. So far it's looking pretty good. I'm looking at A's, all A's, as well as I'll be revealing the final project I had to do for my singing class. So if you're excited for that, go ahead and stay tuned. And remember, at the very end of the year, I will be revealing my 2025 goals and what I plan to do. And let me say, I got a lot of ideas cooked up and I cannot wait to start. I hope you guys all have an amazing day and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye!